Hey there, Raven here to answer some student questions from my self-guided Hermetic course. So I received about 20, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe about 22 questions in response to a recent email. I've whittled those down to 7 questions because some have a similar answer. So if you don't recognize your particular question, just hang in there because you will get an answer in the context of one of the questions I've chosen. So number 1, I have a pattern of abandoning people before they can abandon me. I understand that I can pretty much use every or any Hermetic principle to stop doing this. But if you had to pick one, what would it be? Okay, I'm sure that nobody watching this has this particular problem, but maybe you know somebody who does have abandonment issues. So the principle of rhythm talks about the ebb and flow of life. The tide goes in and the tide goes out. And there's a rhythmic spiral to everything we do. We're always spiraling up. So when we come back around to these recurring patterns, we do so at a slightly higher vibration. Of course, you know that there's so much more to this principle. But just as there are planetary rhythms and moon cycles and seasonal cycles, there are also ancestral cycles. This is a law of created things. So everything moves in rhythms and in spirals. The ancestral cycles, and this has to do with epigenetics. For instance, people who lived through the potato famine in Ireland, that planted that fear of hunger or actual hunger, the fear of starvation, planted a seed in their DNA. And this can still be found in their descendants, still be found today. So we have these cycles as well, and we set up personal cycles because remember, this is a law of created things. This is what we do. So if a seed event happened, so our personal rhythms have these seed events that happen usually in childhood. They can be relegated to the subconscious, so they're not something we readily remember. Sometimes we do remember them, but we don't realize that they have anything to do with a particular pattern. So, for instance, if a child feels abandoned at some time by a caregiver, and this could be, that they had great parents, but one particular day, their mother left them with a babysitter, even though she had done it 100 times before, and it affected them in a particular way. So it planted a seed of abandonment. So they, throughout their lives, if they're not conscious of this, will create this rhythm where they set themselves up to be abandoned. Now, in order to counteract that, they create another rhythmic cycle that says, I'm going to abandon you. I will be the abandoner instead of the abandoned. So they set up another cycle so that they can abandon before they are abandoned. So these two rhythmic cycles become their own cycle together. So they set themselves up in relationships. And a lot of times these relationships would end in abandonment because we're all playing this game together, right? And then they interrupt that cycle by being the first to abandon. And again, these blend together and become their own rhythm. So it's important first to identify what that seed event was to try to uncover that. And it's important to plant a new seed here. So get help with this. Get a master path coach, someone who's trained in Hermetic Wisdom in the 7 steps to mastery. I created that coaching program, and I still get one of my own coaches to help me find my own rhythmic cycles when I can't do it, or to help me have some kind of greater awareness. So a coach always needs a coach. We can see other people's things better than we can see our own. So it takes a bit of time because recurring patterns are very much ingrained. So they don't stop until we interrupt them. And if we don't interrupt them consciously with a new seed event, then we will interrupt them subconsciously, as I've just explained. All right. Next question has to do with principle of correspondence. She says, from the known, we can comprehend the unknown. Subjects we believe we don't understand are just mirror images of everything we are. She goes on to say, you once said to me, what do you believe you truly understand in this moment? Take that knowledge and apply it to something that seems very alien. And she goes on to say, maybe I don't understand this statement because the only thing I believe I might understand right now is the flow of the painting process. And if I picked up a book about astronomy, I don't think I would understand it based on that knowing. Correspondence is the principle that tells us that everything is mirrored in everything else. So we can understand galaxies to some extent by studying the human body. However, the law of counterbalance is at play here as well. So counterbalance teaches us a lot of things, but one of those is it tells us that the extent to which we can experience an emotion is the same extent to which we will experience the opposite of it. So if we feel pain very deeply, we can celebrate that we're also able to feel pleasure very deeply, okay? So the universe is always balancing, it's continually balancing. If you do understand the process of painting, you can apply that to the study of astronomy or physics, but only to the same extent. When you apply a more right-brained or creative process to a more left-brained or analytical topic, you can grasp the spirit of it. But it will be a balanced knowledge of the two. So for instance, if I know that the painting process is about surrendering the analytical or rational side of my brain, if it's about surrendering that and entering a kind of active meditation, then I can apply that to a more analytical subject, but only to that same degree. So it's not going to teach me calculations or formulas. It will give me an overall understanding of the spirit of that topic. All right. Third question. She says, as above, so below, all reflects all else. If a word is cause for manifestation on the physical plane, do the word and the manifestation occur simultaneously, reflecting each other's vibration, given time is not real? Okay, so this is bringing in cause and effect. We tend to think of a cause bringing a later effect, but they actually come in the same package. And there's even, in deeper study, there's retrocausality where an effect actually happens before the cause for that effect. But just know that they are the same thing. The cause and effect are the same thing. If you put out a cause, you own the effect already. So if you do something that's not very nice or that's a little underhanded, just know that the effect of that cause, the karma, if you will, for that cause is already yours simultaneously. Now, because you are continually creating, every thought, every word, every action is bringing about some creation on some realm, whether physical or spiritual or mental. Do they occur simultaneously? Yes, I believe that they do, but will you experience them simultaneously? You might and you might not. That depends on a lot of things. We are living in a dimension that uses linear time. That's the construct of this. Can we move beyond linear time and still be in this dimension? We can. I believe the world would change for us, for sure. But we can do that. But it's a little tougher because we are living in this collective consciousness that believes in linear time and uses linear time. All right, I hope that answered that. Now the next question, she says, so I am a reflection of everyone I meet and they are a reflection of me. I'm living in this world of uncaring and selfish leaders and pandemic. Is this because it reflects my vibration? Okay. Well, it's my belief that everything in the world reflects something within us. And since we're all in this together, we all come from the same source. There's a collective vibration. I still believe the collective vibration mirrors our personal vibration. Now, metaphorically, so if you become very upset because of a story of genocide on the news, does that mean that you're committing genocide in your own life? No, not in a literal way. Hopefully, not in a literal way. So you might say, what parts of myself have I murdered? What parts of myself have I killed? Maybe it's the part that's hopeful. Maybe it's the part that's creative. So those are questions to ask. When you see something really horrendous out in the world, it's always, if you have an emotional response to something, it's always there to teach you. It's always there to say, hey, what's the mirror or what's the reflection within? All right. Now, it's my belief also that when we raise our vibration to a state that reconciles divine and human, so we become what I call the quintessential human, and I talk about this in my upcoming book, but our vessels will vibrationally match a different world. I believe that this is the proverbial heaven on earth that's prophesied in religious text. I believe this is where we're headed. All right, the next question is, if everything reflects everything else, does that mean I am the cause and the effect of everything that happens in this world I live in? Does it mean that all my karma or unresolved energies from all my lifetimes determine my current world? The short answer is yes, I believe it does. A longer answer might be that your current vibratory rate is the only point of focus. That's the only place that you need to be, is right here in this moment. Past lives don't matter. Lifetimes of undesirable actions can be dissolved in this moment with a vibrational shift. That's the only point we can change, is this moment. Okay, next question. Can I really transform imbalances within my body using Hermetic wisdom? Yes, I believe you can. I've seen this happen. You can shift imbalances to the extent that you act to shift imbalances. So remember the law of counterbalance here. You cannot gain what you haven't paid for. So it's always, always, always about balance. That's why we don't judge other people. We don't look out in the world and say, well, we do judge other people, but why we probably shouldn't. We can look out in the world and say, wow, that's, they're kind of not really a nice person, but they have all these wonderful things. That's not any of our business. We need to know that the law of counterbalance is always at work, and we don't know the whole story. So always, always, always about balancing. Okay. So I continue to practice this every day, twice a day. Well, much more than that actually, but the refined matter meditation is the process that will take you to this space. So matter is densified spirit, and spirit is refined matter. We make changes in a more refined state. So the more refined, the higher we can raise our vibration, where we are co-creating with spirit. This is a place where we are free-floating particles, so we're not densified. When we can rise and take our body to that state, we create balance in that place, and then we densify back into a more desirable state. This refined matter practice, and it is a meditation that that I recorded, as you know, but it's also something that you can just do. You can do it while you're washing dishes. You can do it while you're taking a walk. This will take you places that I cannot take you. You will grow and evolve with this practice. Okay, but that's the practice that will take you there. All right. And the last question, this information has been very clear in the way you presented it. I'm so glad, but it's also clear that there is much more truth. You've studied Hermetic wisdom for a long time. Do you still believe you have more to learn? Yes, I do believe I have more to learn. I understand the principles pretty deeply, but I still see new associations that take me further. I still uncover new ways of coaching through the lens of Hermetic wisdom using various tools. I'm always open to new processes of associations and using this wisdom and sharing this wisdom. It's especially important right now to share this wisdom with children. And I'm working on a program called Wizard Path that is nature and Hermetic based curriculum. And I really believe it will be just an evolutionary leap in education. So I'm very excited about that. So yeah, it's a continual process. And that's exciting. I mean, at some point maybe we'll know it all, but it's the fun is in the journey, the miracles are in the journey. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks so much for doing this work. I'm honored that you signed up for my class. If you're not a student in my self-guided Hermetic course and you happened upon this video, you can find out more about that at ravensinclair.com. And if you want somebody to help you with your own patterns and cycles and just to take everything to new levels, masterpathcoaching.com is the place to find a great coach that uses deep levels of Hermetic wisdom through the 7 Steps to Mastery, which is a trademark course that I created, has shadow work tools and some other teachings from my other courses. All right, I think that's it for now. I'd love for you to hit subscribe below. I'll have more interviews and more talks, and I look forward to seeing you then. Take care, everyone.